So hi there, my name is Lisa. I'm going to talk about my journey and how I got into nursing school in my 30s. A little bit about myself is I previously graduated a dental hygiene program, and I did that for a few years and I really enjoyed it. However, it kind of felt like I couldn't really progress in my career unless I went back and did like a master's or something, because you generally with dental hygiene you work in private practices, and if you want to work for like maybe the government or something, they usually hire people with like their masters or additional education in community health. And so I did dental hygiene for 4 years, and closer to the end of the 4-year mark, I kind of was over it. I wasn't really fulfilled with that profession anymore. I worked at the same dental offices for 3 years. And so I told my sister, you know what, I don't really want to do this anymore. What do you think I should do? And at that time, she was doing lashes out of her home and doing really well with that. She was doing it for like about 4 or 5 years at that time as well. And so, you know, we had some discussions and we were like, you know, why don't we open a business together? So then that became our goal for a year, saving up to open a business together. And this was when? This was around 2016, 2017. 2018 comes around and we open up our business. And it was hard at first, but it was much more fulfilling than dental hygiene. And so 2019, 2020 comes around and COVID happens. And so we have to shut down our business on and off for over a year, pretty much going into panic mode at this point. And so my sister and I decided to look into going into nursing with our main objective doing cosmetic injections. And so my journey into that was that I had to take extra courses, extra high school courses, and upgrade my mark because nursing schools, they require a minimum percentage to get in. Usually the percentage is around 70 to 75%. And just because you hit that mark, it's no guarantee, like it's really competitive. So you'll be going up against a lot of other people with possibly even higher grades than you. So the higher the grade, the better. And so I had pretty good high math and biology and English. However, my chemistry mark was embarrassingly low. And so I had to retake the high school credit for chemistry. And so I did that for about 3-4 months. I did it on TVOILC, and it's at your own pace actually. So maybe I finished earlier, I'm not sure, but however soon you want to finish depends on how fast you get through all the material and all the homework. And so for the final mark, it was remote, and I had a proctor observe me through the camera while I was doing my exam. And yeah, so I did that. I increased my high school credit marks and I applied for nursing programs. And so I applied through, I believe, Colleges of Ontario, and they have many different courses at a lot of different community colleges, and they have different admission times. So the most competitive admission time would be September, because you would be going up against all the high school graduates that are hoping of, you know, finishing summer and then going into college or university, whatever, in September. And so I applied to all of the colleges available at different times, and I got accepted, and I took the option that sent me an acceptance first. So I didn't really wait because I really wanted to get into it. And then one thing I also did when I was upgrading my chemistry mark was I took an elective college course, because during college and university, on top of your major, they make you take elective courses. So I remember when I was in hygiene, I took like mythology, I took like film, I took like, I don't know, I think I took an essay writing course. And if you're a mature adult student and you decide to go back to college or university like me, they may be able to credit you those courses so that you don't have to take an elective course again. So anyways, I did take an elective course just because I knew if I got accepted that hopefully I could get that waived, because it's been a while since I was back in school, so I didn't know if my elective courses would apply. And luckily I got 3 elective courses elective courses credits given back to me, so I didn't have to do that during nursing school. And then so yeah, I upgraded my university courses. I applied to nursing school. I got accepted, and then let's see. And then when you go to college, you have the option of applying for like OSAP, which is pretty much the government giving you a loan to go to school that you will eventually have to pay back. And with OSAP, they do give you grants sometimes. So on top of the loan, for a program like nursing, because it's like pretty in demand, you know, there's always shortages of nurses, so the government does also give you grants on top of the loan. So if you want to go back to nursing, you can apply for OSAP and just accept the grant, which you don't have to repay. But if you accept the loan from OSAP after you graduate, you have to repay back the OSAP on a monthly basis. Some people take OSAP because the interest rate is a little bit lower than maybe taking a loan from like a private lender or something, so that's something to look into. And so that's my nursing school. So applying for nursing school, OSAP. Okay, and then let's talk about the nursing school experience. So I'm an adult student, so I feel like I had a little bit of an upper hand with my experience from college previously, as well as that science background. And so I did find it challenging, of course, but with anything, you just have to put the time and effort into everything you do. Like, make sure you read the course outlines and stay on top of the due dates, and really make sure that you're, you know, doing what the project or the question is asking you. And when it comes to support, you know, reach out to people that you trust, your friends and family, because it is going to be very stressful. There is a lot of studying involved. Professors won't give you all of the material that you need for the test. A lot of it will be kind of self-learning because there's so much information. So just do your best to, you know, read the outline, learn the objectives, and just make sure you know the bare minimum, the most important parts in the course outline. And then making friends, you know, stay open. I always try to connect with like people in my group, people in my clinic, and just stay supportive. And so yeah, that was nursing school. And we can talk about clinical rotations now. So this is, and by the way, I didn't apply for the 4-year nursing program. I applied for the 2-year registered practical nursing program. So it's a diploma and not a degree as per Ontario regulations. It's more of like the practical hand side of nursing, whereas the 4-year program, they really emphasize on like research and essay paper writing. So it's like more scholarly. However, common opinion is when you're in the hospital setting, RPNs and RNs do the same thing. However, because RNs have that extra years of knowledge, they will get paid more. So that's something to think about if you go into nursing. However, I'm in my 30s. I wanted to do the 2-year program and not the 4-year program. It just wasn't feasible for me in my life right now. And then so let's talk about clinical rotations. So every school is different. Clinical rotations is where you work in the hospital setting for a real 12-hour nursing shift. And when you're in nursing school, you have to do that. And so for 3 semesters, which is about 4 months, I was at the hospital once a week for 12 hours. And you attend these clinical rotations in a group setting. So you'll be with a group of your classmates, and depending on the unit, you know, there's different things that you will have to do, but mainly it is, you know, taking care of patients. And for your first clinical rotation, it is pretty much going to introduce you to like PSW work, which is, you know, taking care of patients with their bed bath, hygiene, personal care, walking, brief changing, and all that stuff. And as you progress in your clinical rotations, then you'll get more responsibility, such as taking care of patients by yourself, such as administering medication, and yeah. And then so for my final semester of nursing school, I had to work at a hospital setting under a preceptor. So instead of the previous clinical settings with a group of my classmates where we had like more support from each other. You know, we can check in on each other, we could have lunch together. The final semester, you're on your own. And so you get partnered up with a nurse preceptor. So that's not someone from your school. So for the clinical rotations, there was a clinical instructor that took care of the group of students from your school in the hospital setting. So they answer to your school and take care of you, but work in collaboration with the hospital. So when you're in the clinical setting, you don't want to go to the nurse's charge nurse manager and ask them questions about your clinic. You want to go to your clinical instructor. They'll take care of you. However, for the final semester, you are now partnered up with a nurse from a hospital, and they're pretty much responsible for you. And so you ask them all the questions and whatnot. And you work with them for 4 months. And the goal with that is pretty much doing a full assignment on your own. And they'll kind of push you towards that goal. And I think for the most part, by the midway mark, you would be taking on full assignments. So just keep that in mind. One thing about clinical rotations I want to add is that make sure you get your clinical instructor's permission to use them as a reference, because later on when you go applying for jobs as a new grad, they only take references from someone that you had to directly report to. So that would be your clinical instructor, that would be your preceptor, and that could be your one of your professors. And some companies, they ask for 3 references, but generally you just need 2 to make sure that they respond as a reference for you. And so I had a little bit of a runaround because I didn't immediately ask after my clinical rotations if my clinical instructors would be my reference. I reached out to them afterwards. Some were super responsive, and some like just took forever to reply, and I didn't end up using them. And just don't get discouraged, but just, if I could give advice, ask for them to be your reference right after clinical and get their information and all that. And yeah, so you have a preceptor, you're gonna work at the hospital full time, 12-hour shifts, day shifts and night shifts. So whatever the hospital's policies are for their nurses, you would be doing that. So for me, it would be like 3 day shifts within a week, and then within a week or 2 weeks, and then it would rotate to night shifts. So it'd be like 6 night shifts in a row, and then we would switch again back to day shifts. And it was really nerve-wracking in the beginning. However, you just do it. You just do what you have to do, and you get through it, and it's all good. If I can give you another piece of advice during clinical rotations, is every impactful moment that you have, whether it be with a manager, nurse, doctor, patient, note that down, because you're going to need to refer back to these monumental experiences throughout your nursing school when it comes to job interviews. Because when it comes to job interviews, they want specific experiences. They want to know the setting, who you were talking to, what you were doing, and the outcome. What did you learn? And for me, it was kind of a bit of a struggle because I couldn't remember everything I learned. And I had one question that kind of stumped me, and the question was, and this is embarrassing, but it was like, oh, tell me a time you had a conflict and what did you do? And when I heard this question during my job interview, I was just like, what? Like, I never had a conflict with anyone. And for me, conflict in my mind is like an argument, but that's not necessarily true. So after that job interview, basically I said what you should never say. And I was like, I've never had a conflict before. However, I did follow up with, but if I did have a conflict, I would do this, this, and this. And so, I guess that didn't reflect poorly on me because I actually did get a job offer after, but I really beat myself up about it because, like, how could I miss that, right? And so I don't even remember. So just make sure you note everything that happens throughout your nursing experience so you can reflect on it and have it prepared for job interviews. And so after that, hopefully your preceptor passes you, you did a good job, you're a safe student nurse, you know what you're doing, or you know who to turn to in case of an emergency, and now you finish, yay. So after that, you submit a bunch of papers, your preceptor fills out all these paperwork about you, the experience, your qualifications, check, 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 pass, pass, non-pass, satisfactory, non-satisfactory. And then you submit it to your school, and then that was it. Then I got my graduation date, attended graduation with all of my friends, and it was super fun. And so after graduation, the next step to getting your nursing career going, you have to do this exam after nursing school only once. And for me, it's called the RExPN. However, for 4-degree nursing course, it's called the NCLEX. So yeah, so mine was called the RExPN. And so to take that test, it is $395.50. And if you fail, you are unable to retake it for, I believe, 2 months or 2 weeks. And you have to pay that pretty much $400 all over again. And how I passed that exam was I purchased a program called UWorld. And UWorld is a really good online study help. It also has an app, so if you don't have your laptop available, you could study from your phone. And they have multiple choice. They have explanations to break down every subject. And some of the subjects, it's like things that you should really know, like infection control and all that. And they just really break it down for you if you need to review, if you need to just double check your knowledge. And so on those programs, they have like little study topics, but they also have like, what is it called? Like a pool of questions with every subject. And they do it in a style of the test. So not only do you get experience like taking the test, you get a wide range of questions to answer to, which gives you kind of an idea of the areas you need to work on. And so I bought UWorld and I did that. I also watched YouTube videos. I really liked watching Nurse Shannon's videos because she goes through topics, she goes through the main points in a multiple choice answer style. And she also does a little bit of background information. And for her, I really liked how she went through the questions and broke down the wording within the question to be like, okay, what are they really asking? Because in nursing school, you could have like 4 answers that relate to the topic. However, if it's not what the question is answering you, you're gonna get it wrong. So knowing what the question is asking is super, super important. And I learned a lot from watching Dr. Shannon YouTube videos. And okay, so now you passed the RExPN. Sorry, I missed a step. So before you're even able to take the RExPN exam, you have to wait for your school to send them all of your student information, and then they will contact you. And in this contact, they'll tell you to register to be an RPN, registered practical nurse. And so you have to register now. So you're registering to be a future nurse. And that costs $470 just to register. This is not even the registration. This is the process of registering. So it's $470. In addition to registering, you need to take a jurisprudence course. And this jurisprudence course is like really easy. They have these modules that you go through that's really quick, like 15-30 minutes. After the modules, they ask you to take an exam. And it's pretty much what that was just in the modules that you did. So the jurisprudence exam is $45.20. And after you do the registration costs plus the jurisprudence exam, you wait for their email. And the email will say, you now qualify to take the RPN test. So you get your studying in. Whenever you're ready to pay for the RExPN, which is $395.50, you'll then pick a date. So don't pay for the RExPN until, let's see, or you can pick a time in the near future, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then study. Make sure you get your studying in. If you're like really smart, know your stuff, okay, register and do it the next day. However, someone like me, like I need to get my studying in and make sure I am gonna pass because I can't afford to pay for that exam all over again. So yeah, you pay for the registration costs, you take the jurisprudence exam, you pay for that, then now you have to pay for the RExPN, and then you study, you take the RExPN, you either get a pass or a fail, and for me, I got my pass 4 a.m. the next day I took the exam. And like that's so weird, at 4 a.m., that's scary. And then, so now that you passed your exam, you can register to be a nurse, yay! However, this is what really surprised me. I passed my exam and I went to register and it was asking me to pay another $475. And I was so confused. Like, I went to check my receipt to think, like, why are they asking me to pay again? I already paid a registration fee. No. Now you're paying for the registration. So you paid to register, and now you're paying to officially be registered. Like, make it make sense. So in total, after you graduate, you have to pay another $1,400 to get to the process of being a nurse. So that's something that you should account for, because I was very, very surprised. And I actually went and Googled online, like, is this right? What's going on? Because when I was being a dental hygienist, that was not the case. There was a registration fee and there was an exam fee. And if you passed, boom, you are now a registered dental hygienist. I don't know if that changed, but that's very bizarre to me. And very, very expensive, especially when you're a new graduate nurse. Like, you need to make money to pay back for nursing school. So also, I wanted to mention that I graduated in August. And so I didn't like go full speed ahead to get my nursing registration, because I wanted to relax for a bit. And so I kept in mind about the fee, because when I Googled, oh, is the registration fee like a real thing? I knew that I didn't want to find a nursing job immediately after I graduated, and I kind of wanted to relax. So I didn't register right away. I waited for January to pay, because if I paid for my registration in, let's say I passed in October, there was only 2 more months for the year. And so I would have to pay again in January 2 times. So I actually had some friends that paid immediately. They were so excited to be a nurse. They didn't find a job till the following year. So they had to pay for that registration fee twice. Just something to keep in mind. That's something that I didn't know. My school didn't tell me. Nobody told me. And some of my friends actually ended up paying it twice. Okay, so now you graduated and you want to find a nursing job. What you have to do is you have to prepare a resume and a cover letter. And what I did was, on every hospital site that I wanted to work at, and I went to their careers page, and I looked for part-time employment, because I actually went into nursing to be a cosmetic injector. However, I actually really fell in love with the nursing profession, and I was like, hey, like, let me just try this out and see if I like it. Because I kind of do. Like, I always was the type to like be really empathetic and love helping people, and I actually really enjoyed nursing school and everything I learned. So I was like, you know what, I want to try out this nursing thing for a little bit. And so I went onto every hospital that I wanted to work at. I went onto their careers page. I searched up RPN part-time, and I applied. And I applied beginning mid-January, and I did not hear back from any hospitals until end of January. And I only heard back from 2 hospitals. And I got an interview with them. So basically you get an email and you're like, hey, we want to schedule an interview with you. So one hospital was a little bit more flexible. They asked me, what's your schedule? So I gave them my schedule, what days I'm able to interview. And then they got back to me and scheduled an interview, and we did it over Microsoft Teams. And so another hospital, the manager actually reached out to me and emailed me and was like, hey, are you free for an interview on this day? And luckily I was. So I was like, yes, I am. And so I confirmed that interview and did that interview on Zoom. One thing I wanted to add was, okay, and I did that interview on Zoom. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna make sure you save all of the jobs that you applied for, their description, their unit, what's the specialty unit. And you're gonna go back to that and you're gonna look at all of the skills and highlights. And you're gonna make sure you know and remember the units that you applied to and what was in the unit description. And what you wanna do is just make sure that you need the skills. And if you don't, still apply. Just when they ask you if you know how to do it, just make sure you have some steps of how you hope to achieve those goals and qualifications. I applied to any job that I could, even if I didn't meet the full requirements, just because I was hoping for my luck of maybe, I don't know, they didn't get enough applications and they're willing to train someone. And how I prepared for my job interviews. So I did research on those specific units, and made sure that I knew what those specific skills and qualifications were if they ask. And I watched a lot of YouTube videos on interview examples. I also listened to some Spotify podcasts on interview tips. And a lot of the tips were, believe in yourself, make sure you're prepared to answer the standard questions, such as like, tell me about yourself and all of that. What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? What are your goals? What are your qualifications? What did you learn? What did you do? Just prepare to answer those questions as best as you can. And anything you don't know, be honest, but also follow up with like, you're willing to learn, or you're in the course of learning it. And so after that, they pretty much end the interview, and then it's like a waiting game. And I didn't hear back for weeks. And for one interview, I actually heard back the next day. And so if your interview goes well, then the next step is providing your references. So people that can speak to you as a person, what you did during your clinic, what you did at school. And so as a new graduate nurse with no nursing experience, they only accepted my clinical instructors and my preceptors. So for me, I made the mistake of not asking them to be my reference after our time together. And so I had to reach out to them and wait for a response, and it was kind of stressful. But in the end, everything did work out. And so I was offered 2 jobs. So out of all my applications, I got 2 interviews. And I actually got 2 job offers. And so I found this really stressful. And so I just seek guidance to my close friends, especially people who are nurses, to give me a little bit of insight on where I should work. And so I actually ended up rescinding one of my job offers, and that was so stressful to me. Like, I felt so guilty. However, with the encouragement of my friends and my family, and also my friend that was a nurse in the nursing industry for over 10 years, she was like, who freaking cares? Like, they do not care about you. Trust me, they don't even know your name. They do not care. You didn't even start the job yet. So if you want to back out, it's 100% okay. And so I did end up backing out of a job that I said I would accept and taking another job that I wanted. And so if you want to hear about my journey being a new nurse, stay tuned. And if you want to hear about my journey getting into cosmetic injections, I'll have more information about that. But pretty much I graduated. I started applying for nursing jobs because I do want to explore that career in the hospital setting. But I also took a cosmetic injection course, and I could do a whole nother video about that and go through the steps of how to become a cosmetic injector, but I'm still learning it as I go as well. And I didn't even finish my Get Ready With Me, but I hope you like where it is anyways. And yeah, thank you for watching. If you have any questions, leave a comment. I can also give you guys my email. And if you decide to explore the nursing career as a real nurse in the hospital, I would highly recommend. I think it's a very rewarding career. However, I have not worked as a nurse. I'm only a nursing student, so that's my experience. I know a common comment within the world and among other nurses is that nurses are overworked and underpaid. So that's something to consider. You're on your feet all day, your back, your legs, so it is kind of a physically bearing job. However, you're a nurse, you're saving people's lives, and I think that's a really commendable thing. And so if you do decide to go back to nursing school in your 30s, leave a comment. I want to hear about your journey. And yeah, take care. Bye.